All right, so welcome to InfoSec
Well,
to Insanity. We're live on YouTube as Matt and I were just arguing about. I wasn't. Yeah, we're gonna have to go back. We're gonna have to re-roll the tape because I think I was pretty much right on that one. I'm not sure.
I saw what I saw.
Yeah, for people watching, don't forget to like and subscribe if you
Oh,
like what we're talking about. I like what we're talking about. Matt, do you like what we're talking about?
I was not prepared for this one. I was on the wrong week, but I think it's gonna be fun.
You were a week ahead. Yeah. So the topic for tonight, uh, for anybody, is why do people seem so stupid? Let me ask you this, Matt.
Hmm.
How often do you feel like people are stupid?
Quite often.
Quite often.
So now here's the question: do they seem stupid because because of my experience, or are they stupid because they're actually stupid,
Because they're actually stupid. Well, that's the
or
thing,
do I
man. I
just
mean, it's quick.
perceive them?
It's easy to be quick to judge, right? It's easy to be like, you're stupid. But are they? I mean, that was the question. Because I think we struggle with that a lot in our industry. Struggle with
Yes.
that
Why
a
are
lot when
users
I'm just
stupid? Why is the business stupid? Right? It comes up all the
right.
time.
Because a lot of the things that we're, when you're advising, customers or advising executive management on information security things, it's like, it's so obvious. Why don't they make these decisions? And how many times have you heard other security people call users stupid?
I try to correct people all the time. I don't like the word user anymore. I'm
I
against
mean,
it.
some of them probably are stupid, though, right?
All right, so if we're gonna call them stupid, are they stupid because we allow them to be stupid?
Well, that's the thing, and that's why I wanted to dig into this because it was one of those, when you had ADHD like me, you have this question, and this is what started it. I was like, I think I was coming home from downtown Puerto Vallarta to my house here, and it was just stupid driver thing after stupid driver thing, and I'm like, why the hell is everybody so damn stupid? And it seemed like this was like a day with extra stupid. So then I got home and I'm like, is it me? Maybe it's me. I mean, my dad my dad taught me, super wise guy, from, Marine, 20-year Marine. And he always said to me that everybody in the room is an asshole. You're the asshole. And so I'm like, well, if everybody's stupid, wait a second, shit.
So
Am I the stupid one?
how we act or how we think perceives our entire experience.
Yeah, maybe. So I started doing research. I'm like, okay, why does everybody seem stupid to me?
Do
On
you
some
feel
days.
like do you feel like you run into that with certain things more often, like driving or can't close a door or doesn't pick after themselves or things like that? Or is it different stuff like
I think it,
irritability?
I think it's more obvious to me when it pisses me off more.
So that was my leading question. So we talk about situational awareness a lot.
Yeah.
Do you think because I feel like you and I both have probably higher sense of awareness than your average Joe, do you
Yeah.
think that makes it more difficult for us?
I think it can, man. I think it totally can. And I also don't want to be that guy, the egotist, like the narcissist who's like, everybody's stupid. I'm the smart one. And it's like, it's not that. It's like certain things you see during the day, like whether it be driving, whether it be just somebody walking down the road, whether it be, not paying attention, just thing after thing after thing. Sometimes it's in your own family. Your wife does something or your kids do something. You're like, what the hell?
Your cat shows its butt on the internet.
Right.
Like,
And I know,
the hell?
I know I'm not stupid, but maybe I am stupid in certain areas of my life. So you do this self-reflection thing. And so I started doing a whole bunch of research and I came up with 8 reasons
Ooh, I
why
got
people,
5 real quick. Let's see.
why
Okay,
people
Matt.
seem stupid. And that's the important word is seem, because it comes down to your perspective, right? To them, they may not seem stupid at all. They have a perspective too. And I've made this case before especially with, political friends. I'm more on the conservative side of the world, right? And so people will rush to grudge, well, you're a MAGA guy. I'm not a MAGA guy. I'm not an anything like that guy. I'm just a common sense, what makes sense to me guy. And so you talk to, and I like to talk to, people on the other side of the spectrum, the liberal folks, not to make fun of them, not to change their mind, but to understand.
Seek understanding. Yep.
Like, why do you see the world this way? So the thing about perspective is there's a couple things. Every perspective is valid, meaning your perspective on something is valid. My perspective is also valid. What's sometimes not valid are the conclusions we draw from our perspective. The best decisions I've ever made and to this day, the best decisions I make are the ones that are in context. I understand the situation that's around me. I understand the inputs. The best way to get good context, and this is a great tip for any CISO, any information security leader, the best way to get context is to seek perspectives, especially the perspectives that aren't like yours. Like, take, for instance, multi-factor authentication on application XYZ. In my perspective as a security guy, no brainer. You do it. It's like not even, it's almost stupid if you don't do it. Then you take the perspective of the person who uses that application, right? The person who uses that application, they depend on that application to make money, to get their bonus, to whatever, right? And a multi-factor authentication implementation, especially one that they don't understand, they view it as a hindrance, something that's going to get in the way. Sure, it might make great sense from a security perspective, but I don't give two shits about security. I need to make money for my family. I need to get that promotion. So you've got two different perspectives. And from a a good security leader, I would seek out that other perspective. I would understand it, show some empathy. Okay, I get where you're coming from. So maybe there's some sort of compromise we can make. Maybe if I taught you how to use multi-factor authentication efficiently, maybe you'd see that it wouldn't get in the way. Or if we added up all the little, 10-second inefficiencies in having to do that second factor, if we added all those up over the course of a year, we come up with what? Say an hour. If we have an outage in that year, how many hours would that be, right? It might be,
right.
You might be down for 2 days, right? So that's 48 hours. So we can go through essentially 48 years of this inconsistency. You know what I mean? I mean, try to put it in a way that they'll understand, because they're not stupid. They're looking at something from a different perspective than I am, right? And so we do a lot of that. So I came up with these 8 reasons. So from a security perspective, just to recap that, if you want to make the best information security risk decisions you can possibly make and make the best recommendations to executive management, you put your risk recommendations into context. If you want to get them into context, you have to get off your ass. You have to stop thinking that people are stupid. You have to understand that their perspectives are completely 100% valid, and you need to hear it, right?
I heard
now,
the saying,
conclusions they drew from that perspective might be wrong. I'll point that out. Their perspective itself is not wrong. When you say that to somebody, what you're telling them is their reality is wrong. And that leads to a whole bunch of fighting. Yeah, then you get the Democrat-Republican bullshit fighting.
I heard a saying a couple years ago that kind of ties to this. It's called be the department of no. So I feel like people hate security people because we're always saying, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. And they try to go around it. But if we become the department of no with a K, K-N-O-W, and ask more questions, seek understanding, seek the perspective, we can be joined more cohesive.
Good advice. Or be the department of better. Let's do it better. I had a great conversation with a friend of mine who's struggling to find a job. He's an assessor. Kind of that's what he's done in big banks and everything. And he was frustrated because interview after interview, they keep asking him about a lot of the technical, just technical stuff, deep technical stuff. And so he was frustrated, and he's like, I'm not a pen tester, I'm an assessor. I said, he's like, what am I missing? I'm like, well, what you're missing is the why. Why do every assessment you're going to do, everything you do in information security, you should have a good purpose behind it, a why. Why are we doing this? The wrong why is just because, so
what if someone says the business wants it?
For why? Why would the business want it? Because at the end of the day, what I want to do in my corner of the world from a security perspective is I want to make the business better. I want to make us more efficient. I want to make us more money. Whatever the motivation is, whatever the mission is for this business, I need to align with that. And so if you're going to be doing an assessment, why are you doing the assessment? Before we even figure out the what, And if it's just for compliance, okay, well then let's talk about how we might be able to leverage the compliance piece to get other efficiencies within the business. I mean, there's all kinds of places, because the fact of the matter is there are literally an infinite number of types of assessments you can do. A pen test is an assessment. A vulnerability
We
scan
make up
is an
new ones
assessment.
every year.
An audit is an assessment. I mean, there's so much, there's risk assessments. There's, on and on and on. There's different scopes for assessments, so if they're asking technical questions, and you're an assessor, turn it back and help me to understand why I would need the technical skills you're referring to complete whatever assessment you currently have in mind. Because without the why, it's just a waste of time. So then you do become this, then it's almost like you look stupid. If I'm just doing an assessment for the sake of an assessment, yeah, that seems pretty stupid to me. I mean, if somebody called me stupid for that, I'd be like, yeah, I think you're right. So anyway, it was an interesting discussion, because I think we do a lot of things in this industry without thinking. It's just sort of automatic. Why are you doing that? Well, everybody does that. Well, that's not the right reason to do that. I mean, if you tie everything that you're doing, and in order for you to do that, again, you got to go back to the perspectives. I don't want to implement multi-factor authentication into a business if it's going to restrict our ability to make more money. Unless this can help us make more money and be compliant and protect the money, whatever. There's got to be a business case for it. We don't do multi-factor authentication just because we do multi-factor authentication, because when we say that to the users, we do look stupid. It's really no surprise that they're like, I don't want to do that.
I don't want to work with you. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, you're that guy who's always telling me I got to do shit I don't want to do. All right, so here's one of the reasons. Number one, reason why people may seem stupid. And again, I'm going to emphasize seem, because I don't know if they're stupid or not. I mean, there are stupid people. I mean, seriously. I have certain people in my life that I've tried every possible fucking angle to figure out, like,
what's going on there?
You can't be that stupid, are you? Yeah, they are. I mean, there are those people, I think. I don't know. So number one is cognitive bias. Cognitive biases. So people may seem stupid to you because you have some biases. You have some cognitive biases, and there's multiple types of cognitive bias. It's not just one. One would be confirmation bias. So when you look at something, you already have this perspective. You've already drawn some conclusions of your version of the world, and then something confirms that, right? And this is something that you would do, I think, naturally. We all want to be, I mean, even the toughest of us, the baddest ass, coolest beard, most tattooed, bike riding bitches in this industry, we need validation. There are days when I need somebody to just tell me I'm okay. There are days when I need somebody to validate that I'm not fucking batshit crazy, right? And so in looking for those things, that confirmation bias is a really big thing. It also creates this like tribe mentality. We usually hang out with people that are similar to us. You know what I mean? Similar interests, similar background, similar education, similar whatever. And that's why, and I don't think it's racism or anything. I think people jump to that conclusion really quick, but if I'm going to be completely 100% honest with you, I primarily hang out with white people. It's not because I have anything against black people, Muslim people, Asian people. It's a confirmation. It validates who I am as a white person. You know what I mean? But I think the same thing with, when you look at security stuff, why people might not do something that seems just a no-brainer, it's because it confirms something else that they were already thinking. So, and it can seem stupid then, because you're like, what the hell is wrong with you? And they may not even recognize it, so they may not be able to explain it to you, why they feel that way. And maybe they would. And then, I think that leads to a much
don't know unless you ask.
Right.
How can we mitigate confirmation bias?
I think I think all these things, it's transparency mostly. I mean, for me, that's what's worked in the past is just, you try to be this person who's just transparent, not a bullshitter. So if I tell you something and you have that reputation, then I think people listen. So I think if I saw something that really seemed to me like it was confirmation bias and I called it out and then gave you an example of it, I think maybe that's one way, but I think sometimes confirmation bias is just so deeply rooted, especially in politics, where it's not worth your time or energy to even mitigate it.
It's probably insecurity too, right? I'm sure there's, CISOs or whatever, they're going around and they come into an org. They don't like that tool. They're used to that tool. So they bring said tool or said stack of tools in. So now
Yeah.
you're ripping and replacing, spending more money. Some tips here. It says be open-minded, ask questions, take a step back.
Yeah. And if you're an ego guy or gal or person, them, they, whatever, if you're an ego person,
Human, maybe.
yeah, if you're an ego human, this one's going to be really hard for you because you're going to have to admit that you were wrong. And, how often do you find, especially in our industry, how often do you find security people admitting that they're wrong?
Once in a blue moon, probably.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think the older you get, the more, I guess, wisdom, experience you get under your belt, the more you're willing to admit that you're wrong because you have a track record to always fall back on. I think for people that are just starting out in this industry and trying to establish themselves, this is really hard to do because, so much is based on how you think you're being perceived, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got to admit that you're wrong. Another thing around confirmation. So I have a whole bunch of cognitive biases. I'll just go through a few. Another one is
Egocentric.
Yeah. Fuck your ego. Your ego is not your amigo.
Leave it at the door.
Yeah. I mean, we all have an ego. An ego is just your sense of self, right? It's the inflated ego that I think can get you in a lot of trouble. I know my inflated egos ended me up in jail a couple times. I deserved every second of it. But it took an ass whooping, I think, because nothing destroys an ego more than a good ass whooping.
Real pain.
I mean, when you went to boot camp, how much ego did you have?
I had none when I was in boot camp. When I was done, I was fully loaded.
But you were fully loaded in the way they wanted you to be fully loaded.
Yeah.
You were no longer the Matt ego. You were the Marine Corps ego.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, which I thought was cool. One of my favorite things, my son went to the Army. Please forgive me. I don't know why he chose that branch. But whatever. It's a service member, and I'm proud of him, and I respect him. He was the one kid. I have 5 kids. He was the one kid that had such a fucking ego in high school. And so much so that he was the only kid that I ever knocked down. I never had to get, I spanked maybe a couple times kids, but never actually knocked them down. And I would never, it was weird, man, because he had just pushed and pushed and pushed and he wouldn't stop. He wouldn't back down. His ego was way out of the way. He had friends over and I'm like, brother.
Check.
Yeah. So I knocked him flat on his ass. And now everybody in the house, including my wife, including my kids, are all mad at me, because it takes a little while for those emotions to go away. And then, then everything was cool. But anyway, he had that kind of ego. And then when he enlisted in the Army, I was like, thank God, this is going to be good. And, when you go through boot camp and you're basically radio silent, and then towards the end, you get to write that letter home.
Mm-hmm.
You get to write your first letter to your parents. And I got that letter and I read it and I was like, this is the best day of my life for this kid. Because it was, I hate life. It's the worst thing ever. I mean, it was just, he was in so much pain. It was like, you needed it. You needed your ass kicked. That's how you take care of ego.
Mm-hmm.
Poor guy. I had my ass kicked a lot growing up with a Marine Corps father.
I can imagine because I have all kinds of ideas on things I would do if I had kids. I can only imagine.
Well, he was a gunnery sergeant. He was a gunny. A lot of pride, but man, I'm so grateful for that. I look back at that and I'm like, thank God you did kick my ass when you kicked my ass, because I think just being ADHD and just being kind of the head case kind of guy that I am, I think if I wouldn't have gotten that, I would be in prison or dead today. Yeah.
We're glad you're here.
Well, thanks, man. So the next thing is there's this thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Have you ever heard of this?
Mm-hmm. You guys have talked about it a couple times on like the shit show and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not like super knowledgeable.
So it's a phenomenon and it's been studied a lot. If you Google or ask ChatGPT or whatever about the Dunning-Kruger effect, it's really quite fascinating. It's a phenomenon because they don't know exactly why people do it, but it's where people with low ability in any domain, whatever domain they're speaking about, they overestimate their competence because they lack the knowledge to recognize their shortcomings. So they come off as experts. And in their mind, they are completely 100% convinced that they are experts in this area. They're not. And it seems like the more incompetent you are, the greater the effect. Now, not everybody has this, I don't think, anyway, but that would certainly make you seem stupid to me. When you're giving advice, like let's say somebody who has no expertise, no experience in this domain, let's say cybersecurity, and you've been in this industry for 30 some odd years and you've seen what works, you've seen what doesn't work, and they come and give advice to a customer and it obviously didn't work out. So you end up talking to the customer. And it's like, what the hell did they tell you? And it's like, no, absolutely fucking not. And then you talk to the person afterwards and you're like, why did you tell them to do this? And they'll back it up, not with logic. They'll back it up with all sorts of emotions. They'll change the subject and even attack your character. That's the Dunning-Kruger effect. But I think a cool thing about when doing this research myself, though, is it helps me to look for these things in my life. How often do I give advice to somebody when I got no place to be giving advice on something,
This is mind-boggling. It's talking about like the 4 stages of the Kruger effect, and like my brain is warped. Unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, unconscious competence. So it's like you could be anywhere on the thing. It's pretty vague. Pretty much just don't be shit.
Don't be a shitbag.
Just give advice on stuff you know. But I guess if it's unconscious, you can't do anything about it.
Right. Well, here's the thing for us as information security professionals and life. I don't know if you knew this. I don't know if people listening know this. You can't separate information security from life. It's everywhere.
Not anymore. Yeah.
And really, you couldn't, depending on your definition of information security, I've always taken into account physical security as being part of that, administrative, the people part of security. But if all these things are, this is the thing about information security, and I think it makes people struggle with understanding it, is we like to put things in boxes. We like to look at something and put boundaries around it so I can get my head around it. That's where you come up with that saying, get my head around it. It's, what is this thing? And the thing with information security is you can never put it in a box because it's in every single one of your fucking boxes.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Yep. And so, that makes people, I think, struggle. Now, from a security perspective, the more I understand things like this, the more I understand the Dunning-Kruger effect, the more I understand confirmation bias, the more I understand what makes people actually tick, much better security person I am. I mean, honestly, hacking shit, read a manual. It's not rocket science to hack things. Computers are easy, honestly. I mean, hacking a computer is easy because it's all binary. It's discrete.
They can go any which way.
That's why I find this part of information security so much more challenging and exciting, really. I mean, coding, it can get boring after a while, but people.
There's always something else with people, and that's like the whole leadership journey. You can probably plateau in tech, right? You'll be the expert on thing, learn another thing, become an expert. But on leadership, you're always growing, evolving, and learning.
I hope so.
Different.
And until you've reached a place where you already figured it all out, and that ain't never going to happen with anybody.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's there.
Never will be, right? I mean, in order for you to do that, you'd have to be omnipresent. You'd have to be like God. You'd have to understand everybody's perspective, never, but it's still, that's what makes it, I think, super fascinating. So other things around this cognitive biases, and I'll just go through these ones really quick. You've got availability heuristic, you've got anchoring bias, bandwagon effect, which is huge in our industry. The bandwagon effect is, well, you do something because everybody else is doing it. You need to think about it.
FOMO.
And when somebody points out, why are you doing, when you actually have a discussion, then they're like, yeah, that is pretty fucking stupid. But it happens naturally. We're herd people, right? We herd together. We do things. I think a lot of times people feel uncomfortable being uniquely themselves. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why AI is kind of starting to really piss me off, because the more and more I'm thinking about it, the more and more I'm realizing how we're losing humanity, the human part of us, the individualistic, the individual thoughts, the creativity, it's kind of a slippery slope, man.
I think it's a shift though. Like I think
You say shift or shit?
AI
Shift?
yeah.
Shit? A shifty shit. A
I
shitty
think
shift.
it's gonna shift. But like right now, we're like trying to figure out how to use it, so we're like all into it, but eventually it's gonna free up brain power to allow us to focus on more of this stuff without
Oh,
having to focus on the other things.
well, and I think what you just hit on there, right there, is another bias. It's called optimism bias. Truly, that was the next one I was going to talk about. It was
Oh,
after
really?
bandwagon effect. It was optimism bias. It's a good timing.
That's how awesome I am.
Yeah,
My ego right there.
yeah. I mean, you might be true. I mean, it might, but
Maybe. We'll
if you
see.
talk about it and think through it, and maybe this is a topic for a whole nother episode. Is just talking about where this is going, because there are certain trends that you've already seen in technology over the years, and if this just follows the trends that we've seen in other things, unless we buck the trend, we just continue to kind of repeat the shit. So that'll be an interesting discussion to talk about AI, and can we use it as a tool the way it's supposed to be used, which would be, yes, to free up. Ideally, it would take the mundane shit and allow you to elevate yourself mentally
Mm-hmm.
into another plane and think about things outside of the box.
Can we and will we?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a
Yep.
good topic for another one. Last bias, hindsight bias, is another bias. So we have all these cognitive biases that drive our behaviors, they drive our thoughts, and to other people who don't understand all the shit that's going on inside your head, they may look at you and what you're doing and draw the conclusion like, you seem really fucking stupid to me. Again, they might be, but I mean, if you really wanted to, there's this thing that you could just rush to judgment. I could take my perspective on what I see and just draw the conclusion that you're stupid. The problem with that is I lost all this other shit, right? When you rush, and then I become actually part of the problem, because when you take stupidity and just double down on stupidity, don't you just have more stupidity?
I think so.
So we
Yeah.
just collectively become stupider. All right. The second reason why I think people might seem stupid is overwhelming complexity. The world is complex. I don't know if you knew this. It continues to get more and more complex. It's not getting simpler. I mean, it's not. The simple days when, the tribe would, the hunters would go out and hunt and bring back the food, and the cookers would cook, and the moms would take care of that. No, I mean, that was the simple shit. But nowadays, there's no shortage of things to just distract you from every fucking thing. Everything, dude. I mean, there are days my brain is so fucking exhausted. I don't even want to talk to
Information
anybody.
overload.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
I think that's one of the reasons I was thinking about this tonight or last night. Like, why I don't call people back as much as I should. Why I don't respond to texts as much as I should. Because I want to. I think the reason why is I get too many of them. There's just too fucking many. I can't keep up. And I think also, by the time I have free time where I'm not actually doing anything anymore, I'm mentally exhausted.
I have an opportunity for you.
What's that?
What if, so I heard you say should a lot. Should reply to this, should call people back. What if you change the language and said, you get to respond to these messages, or you get to call them back? Because then it doesn't sound like a chore in your head.
Maybe. That's going to take a lot of work. Yeah,
It's
maybe.
practice.
Well, like Ryan, I called Ryan last night, and he was texting me on Friday, I needed to talk, and I didn't get back to him till last night. And thank God he's a forgiving soul, because, he told me on Friday you needed me, and here I am on Wednesday, calling you. And it wasn't that I didn't want to, but I didn't want to. So it was almost not like, I know I should, but it would take a lot to convince myself that I get to. I think, sometimes it just adds more drama, to your life when it seems like there's plenty of drama to go around. I don't know. That's an interesting subject. So
That could be a whole
overloading,
talk. Reframing our thought could be a whole another talk.
yeah, reframing your thoughts for more pleasurable sex.
Perspective.
Perspective. I mean, yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
That too, probably.
Yeah. Anyway, so overwhelming complexity. So how information, because, I mean, when you've only got in your mind
Oh, hey, you're
a half
supposed
a
to fly your
second
drone.
what? I know, I'm
You're
not
supposed to
flying
fly
it
your
this week.
drone.
I know. I still didn't know where I put it. You know what I did get, though? I bought a couple more signs up here. I've got some pretty sweet. I bought a new...
Oh, neon one?
Yeah, a new Modelo
Do you have a
sign.
Harley one?
No, but I bought a Harley, one of those bull skulls.
Nice.
It's got a Harley emblem right here. Yeah, you're going to come down and see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, save me from
working
this
on
John
plan.
guy, man.
Guys, like always there. I don't know what I can do.
I know, and there's a reason why I have you on the podcast with me and not him.
He just
Do I
has
like
to
you
ask,
more?
probably.
Yeah, I do like you more. Am I afraid John's going to hear this? No, I'm not afraid John's going to hear this. Is John going to be surprised by that? No, John's not going to be surprised by that. Do I love John? Absolutely. I love John.
That's crazy. How can you say those two things and that just...
Well, from my perspective, love is a choice.
It's called being real.
Yeah, it is being real. He's the one guy that at breakfast one morning, I told him straight out, I don't like you. And he was like, what? I'm like, well, let me qualify that. I mean, and me not liking you it's not your problem. If I don't like, let's say I don't like you, Matt, I do like you, which is nice. But let's say I said, I don't like you. Is that your problem?
There's nothing I can do about it. It's a you thing.
It's not your fucking problem. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe that's a little cold, but because I always felt like love is a choice. Like I can choose to love. And even people I've never met before, it's just a choice, right? And then the liking thing, in my mind, that's a feeling. And I don't have as much control over that. Like when I'm hanging out with somebody and I just feel like I don't like you, I don't want to be around you. I still love you. I mean, I'll still donate to your cause and I'll still come to the rescue when you need me, but I don't want to hang out with you anymore.
The quantum level feeling, energy exchange.
Quantum level feeling. There you go. All right. So complexity.
Because you don't know. Yes.
Complexity. The thing that might make people seem stupid is information overload. You ever feel information overloaded, Matt?
Every day, all day. It's everywhere. Car, phone, alerts. Now you got the billboards that change too. Like, it's everywhere, dude. It's insane.
I'm going to write, my next blog post is actually, or is it? I was writing it. My next blog post is kind of about this. It's just the overwhelming messaging. I mean, shit. Got phone calls, voicemails, emails, Teams messages, LinkedIn messages, Slack, Discord, Twitter. I mean, whatever technologies you're using, it's all these messages everywhere. And then I'll like see one, but I can't respond to it right now. I'm doing something else, but I saw it. And then like 2 days later, it's like, fuck, I never responded to that thing. And yeah, dude, it makes me feel stupid. And
it's crazy to see how it's evolving, because I initially talked and learned about information overload when I was doing my undergrad 16 years ago, something like that. We were talking about it, and it wasn't nearly as bad, and we were already talking about it.
It gets worse daily
from here. Yeah.
I mean, you think about, pre-internet, you'd get your news from maybe the newspaper, word of mouth, the community square, the coffee shop, wherever, you'd get. But now, I mean, you know everything if you want to know. Sometimes you don't even want to know, and you still get to know anyway. Everything that's going on in fucking Ukraine, what's going on with North Korea, the Israel-Hamas thing.
Yep.
There was a murder down the road. It's just, what the fuck? And I've got, 16, shit, I don't know how many I got, right? Fuck, that's like 60. I got like 60 browser windows open. I've got email up. I've got in my email right now, I've got 11,875 unread emails or something like that. I have no idea. You just get to this point where it's like, I should just do Control A, Shift Delete, and fucking start over.
Start over. Yes.
And I'm
Think
pretty
how
close to doing
healthy
that.
that would make you feel.
I'm thinking about doing it, man. Absolutely.
I have trust that you can do it.
Well, because you realize, like, when you put this stuff into its proper perspective, the world is still going to be fine if I don't reply to any emails at all today. The business is still going to continue to operate and function. Life is going to be
When
just
you have
fine.
a solid business. Yep.
Well, even if you don't have a solid business, I mean, shit. There's times when you're needed. There's times when you're not needed. Being able to discern the difference between the two, and the good thing is, I think if you do this part right, the right people know the right way to get a hold of me. Anyway,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like my wife has
Your
no problem
circle. Your core
my
circle.
wife has no problem getting a hold of me. You usually don't have much of a problem getting a hold of me. I don't reply to your text messages, as much as I should, but, I'll pick up the phone for you. Family, mostly the CEO of FR Secure, John Harmon, President, Oscar Minks, all those guys, know how to get a hold of me. And it's not email. Send me as many fucking emails as you want. I might or might not get to it. Send me as many LinkedIn messages as you want. I might or might. I had a message this, and this is the weird thing because it's so damn random too. Like today, I got a Twitter message, and I don't think I've ever checked my Twitter messages before, but today for some reason I did. I was like, why am I here? And it turns out
You
there's
got
this
like 1,000.
former head of marketing at FR Secure. He actually got fired, but that's okay. You can still be friends. But he was in Miss Maloya, where I live.
Oh, really? Wow.
And he sent me a picture from the beach. He goes, which of these houses is yours? And I'm like, are you fucking here? He's like, yeah. I'm like,
Right.
where, are you staying close by? And he's like, yeah, I'm staying in I can't remember the name of the house. And that house is like just up the hill from me. I go, dude, you walked by my house. You walked by my house when you went down there today.
Hi.
And then he's like, are you the guy that has the Ford Tremor? I'm like, yeah, that's me. So I went down there, met him.
Nice.
That was really cool. But I don't know why. What forced me, why would I check my Twitter messages? I had never done that
You
before.
were supposed to talk to that guy because he was there.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was so great to see him, man. He, last time I saw him, he was in a bad spot. He got fired for cause. I mean, it was just, we genuinely love the people that work for us, but he violated some really unbreakable rules for us, and so we had to let him go. And then see him today down there. He looked healthy. He looked like he's got his shit together. I was giving him a big hug, man. I'm like, I'm proud of you, brother. And next time, instead of paying, I don't know how much you're paying to rent out that damn house up there, you just come here. Shit. We'll have more fun, too. All right, the wheelchair guy says, hello, Al. Hi, wheelchair guy. All right, so what else do we have? Okay, overwhelming. Another thing about complexity. So why do people seem stupid? Overwhelming complexity. Number one, information overload. Number two, rapid technological change. How can you keep up with this shit? Does it not make you feel stupid when you walk into a room with other security people and they're using acronyms and saying technology shit and you're like, I don't know what the fuck that is?
Let's take a step back on that one. Is the technology actually changing, or are we just changing the interface and slapping a new sticker on it?
I think both.
I think a lot of time.
I think both. I think Microsoft, it's the latter. Even Apple. I mean, when's the last time Apple actually innovated and created something that was worth the shit?
Everything's so software now. It's like, oh, we're innovating. Here's the new color of your fucking like button.
Right. But then you've got, I mean, I'm not a fanboy of any company, anywhere. But those Meta glasses that I bought.
Yeah, that's innovative stuff.
That's some pretty innovative shit. And that's a rapid technological change for some people. Because I was talking to there were two groups from Minnesota that pinged me today. It was just weird. So I went to the beach, and then another couple, old church couple, they were in town. So they came up to the house, and they were talking about, those are cool glasses. What are those? And they're Ray-Ban Meta glasses. Yeah. And I'm like, they're Meta glasses. And they're like, what does that do? And I told them, like I can just say, hey, Meta, capture this, and it starts recording the video. I can say, hey, Meta, take a picture of this, and it just takes pictures. I mean, I don't have the AI function. That's why I'm going up to, you have
Phoenix,
to be
right?
in a country that supports that. And I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole, but they were so amazed. They're like, how much were those? I'm like $400. We're getting those. Anyway, so I think in some cases it is rapid technological change, especially when you look at the perspective of the generation that came before us. They're completely fucking lost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They struggle for sure.
Yeah. I think in the
That's gonna
the generation before
down.
us, that rapid technological change, I think, made you so dependent on the technology. I don't know how they can function without it.
Yeah, like communication skills are just dying for sure.
And common sense, I mean, you rely so much more on what the tool's telling you than what logic tells you. So I don't know, man. I think there's enough rapid technological change that, the fact of the matter is we continue to adopt new technology faster than our ability to use it responsibly.
100%.
Responsible use of technology will require you to understand the technology, use it as the tool it was intended to be used.
But that's not how you get adoption and get money. You make it easier to use so you can get adoption.
There's a good question. How can we survive without these tools? Turn them off.
Turn
Try it.
them
See what
off
happens.
and let's find out.
Go out in the woods. I think you're always going to have the tool. I mean, sometimes you're forced to. Like when we had the Category 4 hurricane here, you were forced for a week, basically. I mean, I still had, because I was probably planned properly, I guess, which I guess would be responsible use, right? I mean, I had a generator, I had backup internet, I had a lot of shit, but
taking care of your domain.
But I could have functioned, I think, completely fine without that. We didn't have power for a week. We didn't have water for a week. So you solve those problems to bathe. We went down into the river,
Right.
bathed in the river, which was hot. Yeah, I mean, not hot. It was awesome because my wife looked hot in the river. If you know
That's
what I'm
like
saying.
dreams, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it might be, to wheelchair guys' point, it might feel bored. I think variety. What makes me bored is lack of variety, I think.
I mean,
I like working on
it's
cars.
true because
I like building shit. That stuff's fun.
It's something I struggle with right now. It's this whole content thing, right? It feels bored, but am I really bored or am I just content? And it's okay to be content. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, the addict mind, because you and I are both there.
Addict.
The addict mind needs to get comfortable with the mundane. You have to get comfortable with the mundane. I don't need drama. I don't need excitement all the fucking time. And different strokes for different folks, man. I mean, some people without the internet, they would be really bored. They would be really lost. They wouldn't know what to do. I'm not going to rip on them for that. I think but it does expose you to a vulnerability that I think you'll need to account for, because if we took away the internet against your will, you're going to have to figure out for yourself how you're going to survive it.
At this point, a lot of stuff stops working.
Right. Man, you saw that chaos back with CrowdStrike. Shout out to CrowdStrike. Good work on the update. All right. Complexity of systems also, can make people seem stupid, especially, if I study like a network. I'm a network guy. I know networks really fucking well, man. I mean, I've always known networks really well. And thank God they haven't switched everything over to IP version 6. Otherwise, I'd be obsolete on that piece. But the thing with, what was I getting at? The complexity of systems. Shit, I don't remember what I was saying. Anyway,
It happens.
The more complex things get, I think the more difficult it is, and the more stupid you could end up looking like. Third point, misinformation and lack of education is another reason why people may seem stupid to you.
Mm-hmm.
We feel on
the
this
internet
one
for that. Totally.
What?
I mean, we don't read. I mean, I'm guilty of it all the time. Don't read anything. You just peruse headlines and you're like, I'm informed, but are you really?
One of the smartest people in my life is my mother. She's super smart. Crazy for sure, but super smart. And we were talking about this, not related to this episode or anything like that, but just talking about information and all the information we get all the time and all that shit. And she said, she said she only reads the headlines. I'm like, that seems really dangerous to me. It seems really dangerous because then you're just taking, because the headline is really just a summation, a conclusion, an attention grabber, clickbait about something. And so then things can seem really sensationalized, but then when you read the actual article, you're like, this isn't that big a deal. I mean, this is stupid.
Probably, back in the heyday of newspapers, so there was probably value in headlines.
Mm-hmm.
But once we learn how to use information to manipulate and trigger emotional responses, it's gone.
Well, and you get it just like that. I mean, I think all these things kind of play off of each other. You get it, you hear the same story enough times, whether it be on social media, whether it be in the news, and it just gets reinforced. It's really easy to start believing that it's actually true.
If it's trending, it must be true.
Right? I think social media is just another one of those things where we were all fast to jump on it. Not all of us, but a lot of people were fast to jump on it without really thinking it through. Like, how is this going to affect society?
It pivoted really quickly. It used to be like, all right, here's a picture of what I'm eating for lunch. Here's where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. Now it's like influencer. People get paid to be human and take pictures, and it's just wild now where that's.
Well, what I said earlier about the trend of technology? Almost all the technology, when it first comes out, is used kind of innocently. It's used for, good stuff, right? It was connecting with family, sharing photos, stuff like that. But like every tool, it doesn't take long for the dark side to emerge. Where, before you know it, now there is all sorts of misinformation spreading all the time. There's the thing that, the tool that was meant to bring us together ends up being a tool that actually drives us apart. And technology, this is a very common trend. And maybe I should write something about this too, because I think when you talk about AI and you talk about the future of AI, the innocent side, look at all the cool fucking things I can do with it. I can, I can code with it. You can do lots of really fucking cool things, but it doesn't take long for the dark side to emerge. And then before you know it, you've gone down a path of no return. You
don't even know you're in it until it's too late.
Right. Because when the internet first came out, it was fucking amazing, man. I didn't need to have my Encyclopedia Britannica anymore. I could communicate with people on the other side of the world without having to pay long distance fees. I could play games with people. It was, eventually I could shop. It was like, this is the best thing ever. But it didn't take long for that,
Advertising.
Because the internet is, if you're in the right places doing the right things, it can be a beautiful place.
Yep.
But it's super fucking dangerous. There's lots of ways to fuck you over on the internet.
Yep. Some bad
obviously.
Shit.
All right. So what else do we have on point number 3? Cognitive ease is there, emotional appeal, blah, blah, blah. What else do I have? The misinformation, confirmation bias. Again, that just drives it home, and it empowers people. Man, you can see the stupidest people, not the stupidest people, but the stupidest points, the stupidest theories start to gain widespread attention and belief and adoption because it confirms people's biases. If you look at our trust in the government. Now, I don't trust the government, but it's not because of what I've read on social media. But the trust of the government is at the lowest point it's ever been. And I think they're not trustworthy, but they never have been trustworthy. So I don't know why you thought they were before.
Right.
But now this confirmation bias, now you're starting to see conspiracy theories that are just what do you have to back this up? And then you cite sources that just confirm your confirmation bias. The best way to do research is to look for counterpoints and be able to defend the counterpoints.
That's interesting because I think all the things play together, right? Talking about find things to do a counterpoint with the way advertising and targeted marketing and stuff works. When you're using the internet, you're using Google, right? You're getting a funnel They're trying to tell you what they think you want. So you're never going to see the other side if you're in the algorithm, because it's just going to keep shrinking your view.
Yeah.
So
There
you
was a
need to
really
figure
good
out how to step out.
there was a really good Netflix documentary on this, wasn't there? Can't remember what the name of
Yeah.
it. Where
It was a social dilemma.
yeah, I mean, it can get kind of crazy because you can use a lot of this stuff for mind control. It's a social engineer's paradise.
It's crazy because, back in the day, if you were running an experiment or a trial or whatever, you'd have to go, a thing, sign up 50 people, whatever. Like, it was controlled. Now, everything is an experiment on us in real time across the globe, instantly. That's insane.
Back to your optimism bias, man. This is why I don't think AI is going to go the way you think it's going to go. I hope it does. I mean, I would love it to. I would really love it too, but it's like most things. The person and the people that's going to benefit the most are the people who control it.
Yeah, so there's fight for control.
And I don't control it. You don't control it, So we'll see.
The same people that control stuff now will control it.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much until something. Well, there were 2 points on this third point on why people seem stupid. It's misinformation and lack of education. I think that's the best way to combat misinformation is to get educated. Never fucking stop learning. Always. And always challenge shit. Like, don't just, eat from the plate, man. I mean,
go out, get some culture. Like, don't just stay at home or stay in your city. Like, go do stuff.
Well, encounter stuff. Like, and that's the thing too about social media, man. You saw this during COVID. Like, how comfortable would you have been to question some of the policy decisions that were being made around COVID during the time of COVID?
Yeah, I was all over the place during that time.
You would get your ass handed to you on social media.
Yeah.
When I was telling people that I was going to Sturgis, holy shit, you would have thought I was Satan incarnate. That's a super spreader. I'm like, what the fuck is a super spreader? Well, you're going to come back and you're going to get everybody sick. I'm like, okay, well, what happens if I come back and I quarantine for a couple of weeks? Does that still make me an evil motherfucker? Well, yeah. Why? Well, because you're having fun.
It's a super spreader.
Well, when you got right down to it, it was because I was having fun and you're not.
I'm jealous.
Which leads to the next one. The fourth reason why people may seem stupid. It's emotion over logic. The best decisions, if you can identify it, are the ones when emotion and logic are in balance with each other.
And everything with social media, the news, all the FOMO, fear, FUD, whatever, it drives an emotional response.
I mean, if you want to, read books on social engineering. The best way as a social engineer to work is to leverage emotion. And that's why those emails that you get, the phishing emails are emergency type emails. Click now, something bad's going to happen right away. Shit. Because
I need those
emotions
gift cards
high,
for
logic
this.
is low. I'm going to.
And it sucks too. Bad people, not just good. So not bad people. Bad good people have started using social engineering. So now it's hard to tell what is and is not, good.
Well, and the best way to combat a social engineer is to continue to challenge until you take them out of their pretext. Because when we prepare for social, and I don't do social engineering attacks like I used to, but there's a lot of planning that goes into a social engineering attack. There's a lot of there's a lot of OSINT that goes into it. There's a lot of identifying the target. What emotions do we think are going to work? What are the opportunities? And then you build a pretext, which is basically an actor. Who am I going to act like? What do I need to look like? Yeah.
I got a text from a random number. It said, are you so-and-so? I'm like, no. And then right after I said no, they sent me a picture. It was some Asian chick. I'm like, oh, okay, bye.
You like Asian chicks.
I mean, yeah, but this is all unsolicited and
yeah.
Bye. I'm not, you're not going to get me.
The only time I've only been caught. So I think, maybe over the years, 50 or so social engineering attacks. The only time I ever got caught was training.
The ones that you're running,
I was involved in. I had an active role in it. And sometimes it's a team effort. Sometimes you go on with 2, 3 people, and there's lots of stories. Yeah, the only one I got busted on is they kept asking me questions and I didn't have an answer. I was like, I couldn't think quick enough. I wasn't prepared. So I had to come clean. I'm like, all right, look, this is a social engineering attack, blah, 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 blah. And
what do you think about all the kids out there now that are, they're using flippers for Wi-Fi, or they're dropping pineapples, or like all these tech things during their social engineering engagements? You think that's just, you don't need that? Just go old school analog Evan style?
it goes back to what I was saying before. What's the purpose for the test? What are we trying to accomplish with this? Are we just trying to break in no matter what? Well, then what would I use that for? What value is that going to provide to the company? Because the fact of the matter is there's not a place anywhere, including Fort Knox. I mean, there's no place anywhere that's impenetrable. Enough time, enough focus, creativity. Just doing that shit for the sake of doing that shit, you're wasting time, you're wasting money, and it's stupid. If the point is, well, we want to see if this is a potential avenue of attack and what it could do to us, that kind of thing. But you got to be, on all your social engineering attacks, you have to be very clear on the purpose and the scope of the test. Otherwise, you can find yourself not just wasting money and doing a disservice to your customer, but also you can find yourself in jail, because I have a letter of engagement. Letter of engagement should really clearly state the purpose for the test and the scope for the test, so that if I do get arrested, I have a get out of jail free card.
Yeah, because if you're outside of your scope or something,
like getting arrested is not a big deal. I've been arrested a lot more times than I've been prosecuted. It's getting arrested. It's actually, if you've never done it before,
go try it out. It's fun.
Well, yeah, I mean,
handcuffs, why not?
It's a very interesting perspective, that's for sure. Getting booked, going through processing, holding cells, all that shit. It's pretty interesting. Yeah, most of that stuff didn't come from the work I was doing. Most of that stuff came from drinking, back in the day. So it may sound cool, but it ain't cool. Don't do that shit.
Drinking impairs judgment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it impairs lots of things. It also impairs your sexual performance. I don't know if you knew that.
I might have heard that once or twice.
Much less good in bed and I probably wasn't remembering it anyway, so I don't know if I was good or not.
Yeah, right.
All right, so emotion over logic.
Yeah.
Emotions are, I mean, the way you overcome emotions is just have this continual sort of why about you. Why? It was crazy. It's kind of sad because I remember when I was a kid, my dad sort of beat that out of me. Why, Dad? Because I fucking said so. So a lot of us, I think, we're conditioned to stop asking why, when really, man, we should always be asking why. Never stop.
Ask more questions.
Ask yourself why. Ask, like that was a great conversation I had with Ryan last night. He was talking about some shit, and I'm like, why? What would be the motivation for this thing that you're afraid of right now? Why would you think that this would happen? And when you logically thought through it all, it's like, yeah, man, I think I let emotion get the best of me. I think emotion, was making me paranoid. It was making me make decisions that on the outside, and they are stupid decisions. It doesn't mean you're stupid. You know what I mean? Emotional. My daughter's the best social engineer in the world. She makes me look stupid all the damn time because she capitalizes on that emotion over logic. If one thing that people can relate to
kids
a lot
are
is
the best. Yeah,
kids. They're like walking viruses. Have you ever been in an argument with a lady, Matt? Highly emotional argument, lots of anger, lots of frustration, whatever, right? Highly emotional, which is what those arguments usually are. And then regretted something you said or did afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of that emotion over logic.
Yep, that's an interesting story. I have one. Communication styles.
This is one what? This is an example of what makes you look stupid? Or why people may seem stupid? I'm only on point 4, man. I got 4 more to go.
Oh, okay. I wanted to put one in.
You want me to go faster? And we're only at 1 hour and 8 minutes. We usually go like 2 hours.
Yeah, but I wanted to put one in.
Put one in, man. Give me it. What's you got?
Yeah. Communication styles. So miscommunication can come from how people express themselves. So if someone speaks slowly or hesitation, they might be perceived as less intelligent.
I could see that.
Or a language barrier, right? They might not seem intelligent and create an illusion of incompetence.
Yeah. Like my wife is very intelligent, like very intelligent, and she struggles getting things out. You know what I mean? You could almost sense like the brain's going fast and getting all this stuff, and she, you know, tries to say
Yep.
what she's thinking. Yeah, that's a good point, man. Because I know she's not stupid. And eventually the point does come out. She does
Yep.
verbalize it. And you're like, okay, I think I understand
But
what you're talking
we're
about.
impatient people, or, whatever, and it can be perceived that way.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if you have no trouble communicating, like you verbalize really, really well, maybe somebody who doesn't, it's really easy to look at them as not being as smart as you are. That's a good point, man.
Shizzle.
Faux schism, my nizzle. All right, so emotions, yeah, it also leads to analysis paralysis. I don't know if you've ever had that before.
Every day.
That's usually a fear-driven, you're afraid to make the decision because you're afraid of the outcome.
Fail.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hope, optimism lead people to make, and I don't know how you put that. I think what seems to help is you take those emotions and you sprinkle some logic with it. Like, why do I feel this way? Is this a good decision? What might be the outcome? Because a lot of the things, I think when you make decisions, it seems like a lot of the things, most of the things are cause and effect, aren't they?
I think that's how, basic principle you learn, right? Cause and effect.
Yeah. So if I make this decision, what might be the effects of that?
It might not always seem like an effect. It could be an outcome. It could be, so there could be a cause, there could be an outcome, a takeaway, an effect. There's just different types of things, I think.
No, I agree. So that's just another thing that might make people seem stupid. And again, going back to the origin of this, it was frustrating me because I was starting to feel like, and I've felt this way numerous times over my life.
You're driving home and you're getting frustrated.
When I felt like this numerous times in my life where like, is everybody fucking stupid? Like, am I the only one with a damn brain here? And you got to check yourself. Like, no, man, that ain't true. Because if you start believing that, you got some kind of God complex. I mean, you become that person that you hate.
It sets you down the path more, and you just get more and more angry.
Yeah. Yep. And I think then you become more and more isolated. I think the emotions continue to just spiral out of control. You end up kind of burnt out, whatever.
I mean, even on the way to work this morning, there's someone tailgating me. And since I don't have a small car anymore, I don't care. Tailgate me all you want. I'm already going faster than traffic. I can't imagine how frustrated those people are when they go into the right lane to try and pass me, but there's another car there, which is why I'm still it's just crazy. And it's all because they are perceiving that, I'm already judging. All right, off of that.
No, dude, I get you. I get where you're coming from. Number 5, we've touched on this a little bit. Number 5 reason why people might seem stupid is different lenses, different perspectives. I have my own perspective on what looks like stupidity to me. And just because it looks stupid to me doesn't actually make it stupid, potentially, right? You got cultural backgrounds, socioeconomic environments, different education, knowledge, race plays into this. I mean, there's all kinds of things, life experiences. So I don't share those same things. There's also emotional state. Sometimes people do things because they're just in
that a lot as
bad
a parent?
spot.
Shit, my kids are so stupid, but you got to let them be stupid anyway. Is that a thing as a parent?
That is a thing, I think. It happens to be a thing I'm going through right now with my youngest. It's like, but you're really careful not to call her stupid.
Right, that'll be triggering, right?
Well, and I learned something from a pastor that I've always carried with me, and I shared it with her actually in her last thing that she did because she was beating herself up about it. She knew that what she did was wrong, and she was feeling really guilty about it, and, I'm useless and worthless. So the first thing is that I did was fuck you in the manipulation, because
Mhm.
you've used this before. If you truly fucking feel this way, here's some advice. The difference between guilt and conviction. So many people don't know the difference between guilt and conviction. They're two different things. Guilt is,
Educate me.
yeah. So guilt is the thing that you did something wrong and you feel guilty about it. And so you continue to dwell on it. You think that it sort of defines you. You keep telling yourself things like, I'm not good enough because I did that thing. I'm a bad person. It's a tear down effect, right? It depresses you. And then conviction is, I did something wrong. I fucked up. I'm going to do better. It's over. I don't feel guilty about it. I admitted that I fucked up and I'm committed to doing better. So one
So
is
you
a
have to
tear down.
move from guilt into conviction as part of a process.
You may not have to move into it. I think if you could recognize where this is coming from. So I simplify this because, and you don't have to be a Christian. I just happen to be one. And so when I feel the guilt, and this may sound batshit crazy, but it works for me, is I'll verbally say, fuck off, Satan. Because in my belief, guilt comes from Satan. Conviction comes from Jesus. One tears me down, holds me down. One builds me up. That's
I
just what
started doing
works for
that
me.
with my anxiety. Like when it pops up, it's like, fuck you. Like, where'd you come from?
Yeah. And so when
It's
I just say,
weird when you're
when I just say,
around,
fuck
like,
you, Satan, I just put a face to it, a name to it,
it's weird when you're around people that
Yeah,
aren't
I
like
try
you.
not to do it when people are around, but yeah.
I I feel like saying it out loud is like more helpful though, and I don't care what they think. I'll
Yeah.
explain it to them, and maybe they'll start moving into a different space
Mm-hmm.
of operating.
No, yeah, for sure, man. But it's, yeah, I want her to be built up. She made stupid decisions. I mean, do you agree? I mean, that's the thing. When you talk to the person, and then maybe this is an approach too that you can use on the job, cybersecurity person, whatever. They made a mistake. You admit it was a mistake. It was stupid. I admit it was stupid. So instead of tearing you down, how can we do better next time? Let's build up. Let's not stomp you to the ground and make you feel like you're fucking stupid, because that's not going to solve anything. It's not going to make anybody better. Because from their perspective, I mean, when you take into account their perspective, they click the link. They click the link because it made sense to them to click the link at the time. Maybe they didn't think about it. That doesn't make them stupid. It means, what's the opportunity?
Would you think this is similar to positive enforcement, or is it like a middle ground?
I think there's times for both, right? I mean, I think more security people should understand like psychology. Pavlov, right? The dogs, there's positive reinforcement and there's punishment. There's negative reinforcement. So I think the only time, I prefer positive because I like the outcomes better, but there is a time for negative reinforcement. And I think the time for negative reinforcement is when you've done something that it was clear. It was 100% clear. You knew doing this was wrong. I knew doing this was wrong, but you chose to do it. And so, yeah, there needs to be some sanction associated with it, but it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. You can't emerge from it and be, better. It's like the guy I was telling you about we had to fire. It's not a bad person. It's great to see him happy and awesome. And we didn't fire you because we didn't like you. We didn't fire you because we thought you were a bad person. We fired you because you made a mistake that was a line that everybody knew. You never cross it. You crossed it. And the fear of, if you don't do that, if you're not decisive about that, everybody else is watching. So everybody else is holding up these standards by which you live. Somebody breaks the standards and then you don't do something about it. That's very demoralizing to them. So you never sacrifice, the group for the one, including myself, right? I have to be held to that same standard. Can't be the hypocrite. And the standard is lying. That was the standard that was broken. You never lie. We give you a little bit, you get some leeway on the lies of omission, because those are harder to, like, yeah, fuck, I should have told you about that. I didn't think about it. That's a lie of omission, and a lie of commission is, I tell you something straight out that's not true. That one's pretty easy. Honestly, it's pretty easy to not do those ones. And if you do it, come clean. That's not going to get you fired. It's when you do it and it affects other people and that kind of shit. Because you erode trust. We have to have so much, especially in information security, man. I mean, how important is trust?
Great. I mean, not just from the business standpoint, but you're also like, if something happens, like you're in the trenches with someone, it's like you're in a, fighting hole right next to somebody. I gotta be able to trust you.
The two like most important things in my whole career in the 30 some odd years in this industry, trust and credibility. The other thing which was important coming up, it's not as important now because I'm at this stage of my career, is the likability. But if you have those three things, trust, credibility, and likability, the outcome will probably be eventually, the table will shift your way. But yeah, you can't fuck that up. Just
I
due
might
to the
have to
nature of what we're
lean
here
on.
for. So, all right.
I might have to lean on this liable mission.
It's a viable mission.
I might have to lean on it.
Do you have some things you need to tell people that you're not telling them?
No, not me. Someone else.
Well,
Learning opportunities.
Be honest. Be transparent. Come at it from an angle of, I think, helping them, not tearing them down. If you've never had this discussion before, if you're on the fourth time we've had this discussion, well then, come on, brother. It's time for me to punch you in the throat.
Right.
Because now you're disrespecting. I mean, we've talked about this before. What's missing? Yeah. Anyway, so number 5 on my list of why people might seem stupid is the different lenses, the different perspectives. The good information security people, the best leaders in any organization are the leaders, and best doesn't mean the ones who make the most money there's lots of leaders that'll sell anybody up the river. The best leaders mean the ones you want to follow are the ones that appreciate perspective, everybody's perspective, especially the ones that don't. At FR Secure, we got to a point, I don't know how many years ago this was, maybe 7, 8 years ago, where our entire executive team were just people like me. Just white guys, suburban guys, college people, you know what I mean? We had very similar perspectives. So it has nothing to do with color. It's the same damn perspective. We all had the same fucking upbringing. We all looked at the world the same way. And what we lost was, it got to a point where there was no creativity in the room anymore. It was dry. It was same shit. And so we had our executive meetings every week. And I told the team, I'm not coming to any more of these fucking meetings. It's the same shit every fucking week. We're not solving anything. We're not doing anything. It's like just mechanical. We need to purposefully, deliberately go hire somebody to be on this executive team that has a different perspective than me and you. They need to be qualified to do the job. And I don't care if they're a different color. I don't care, they can be a white person who grew up in the inner city. It'd still be a different perspective than me. It can't be like me. And so we went out and deliberately hired Renee Rudder, our first female executive. And the very first meeting was like, holy shit, it revolutionized.
This is what we've been missing.
Because she was like, why are you guys doing that? And I'd be like, yeah, why the fuck are we doing this? It brought challenge. It brought, totally different perspective. And and I can only imagine the way we looked before that must have been pretty stupid.
From
I think
her
we were being
perspective,
stupid.
right?
Well, I think we were just stupid. We weren't producing what we were capable of doing, and whatever. But yeah, when you brought in that other perspective, that a refreshing perspective, and embraced it, respected it, it changed everything for us. Now we have another female executive, Vinay Pearson, who last year, I don't know what organization it was because I don't know accounting people very well, but she won CFO of the year, some of those CFO association things. Fuck yeah.
Killer. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I suck with money, so CFO the shit out of this thing.
Yeah, got a good one.
We really do. Yeah, but when you truly open yourself up to other perspectives, man, you realize the value in it. It's like, it makes you a better person. It makes you a better leader. It makes the company, everything. If you want to solve difficult problems, it takes multiple perspectives, man. You ain't going to do it yourself. All right. So that was number 5, perspectives. Number 6, let's see what I've got. Can't remember what it is. Oh, groupthink and herd mentality.
Yep.
That really
Just
makes you look
doing.
stupid if you're not part of the herd, or the other way around. Like you're the outcast.
Well, you talked about it before, like a lot of times when it comes to like due diligence, it's cool if you're in the herd, even if the herd is not right.
Yeah, I mean, how much sense does it make to, well, we're doing what everybody else is doing, meaning we're part of the herd, but the herd is running off the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? I would rather run the other way. And I think there's a lot of logical advantage to that. You know, if everybody's rushing to the cloud, what happens if you rush the other way? If you rush to on-prem, is there a competitive advantage to that? I don't know. Logically think through it all. But next time there's a Microsoft outage, I don't give 2 shits about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if you think about where the attackers are going to go, well, shit, I got everybody right here in one big ass pile of shit. I'm going to go after that. If you're not in the pile of shit, maybe there's a competitive advantage for you.
It's like dumpster diving.
Yeah. So I think the innovative people like to go against the herd, not destructively, but challenge the herd. Why are we actually doing what the fuck we're doing?
You definitely get some interesting experiences too. Like I had an interview one time and they're like, all right, here's our list of security tools. Tell me what of these tools you have used. It was like fucking 75 tools. Now I have, 5, 6, 7 tools, and it's like, am I doing something wrong? Because I don't have 70 fucking tools.
Right. You start to question yourself when logically you are completely in the right.
Crazy.
But that's the healthy thing, right? To avoid this. And this was a whole chapter in my book, wasn't it?
Probably.
Chapter? Did you read my book? I didn't read my fucking book.
I did. Yeah, I have it on my shelf actually right here.
So the name of the book is Unsecurity. Is that the name of that thing?
Unsecurity. Yep.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah. So there's a chapter about the herd mentality because it can be really, really destructive.
Look at that cute guy right there. Look at how handsome he is.
Damn, that's what I looked like when I used to get chicks then, probably. Not anymore.
I tell my intern and my junior guys to read this book. This is like awesome.
Yeah,
it's a good foundation, I think.
Because I didn't do any marketing for it. I didn't do it to be famous or any of that shit. Famous just means more meetings, more commitments, and I don't want any more of those. But I've heard more and more people using it for that, which is cool, man. I mean, it's humbling. It's humbling.
I'll put it in a college curriculum, honestly.
There's some college professors that are doing that.
This is more helpful than learning how to hack something on Hack the Box.
I'm going to be writing another book.
Farther.
I can't remember what it is. Actually, I have like 3 books to write because people are on my shit about it. After I had a textbook for the CVCSO course, kind of a follow-up to Unsecurity.
And then I have 5 years later or whatever.
Yeah, still unsecurityed.
Unsecurified.
Yeah.
Unsecurified. I like it.
I want to do a project. And I might need your help or might need, somebody who's interested in helping.
I'm a helper. I like it.
People still struggle to get into this industry.
Yep, I'm in.
And it's pissing me off, really, because it's like, what is so fucking broken? So I was going to do this project where I was going to create a persona, create a, depending on whatever job I'm applying for, create a resume, all that stuff, LinkedIn, do all that shit, and then start applying for some of these jobs and start recording some of these interviews. And answer it, as that pretext, but also share, and then afterwards follow up like, hey, I
did this.
These things in your interview process, like why the fuck are you looking for that? That doesn't fit at all with the job description that you mentioned. You just try to figure out what the disconnect is, what's busted here. Because I think you're going to need something like that, like something to sit in and go through this because I don't understand I only go by what
Do you think
the
it's a
interviewees
complex
are telling me.
problem? Like, I'm not 100% sure that the interview process is what's totally breaking it. I also feel like there is unrealistic expectations to jump to this level, right after you get a cert, or that you are certain level without having any experience.
Good morning from Farm in Texas.
Which farm? There's a lot of farms in Texas.
Hey, let's not get specific. This is a public forum, Matt. If you want to social engineer him, why don't you do it on your own time?
Jake A. Mason.
So, okay. So to that point, I think, I think it is a little more complex than that. I think if you simplify this thing, right, just simplify it, it's supply and demand. So there's a demand for certain things, right? Skills, being able to perform whatever, right? And then you've got the supply to meet that demand. So if you look at it like customers and products, right? Because that's the way I look. That's kind of the way I look at it. If I was going to hire somebody, a college grad, I'd be like, what am I going to get for my money? This person is demanding $120,000 a year. When I look at the things that they're actually capable of doing on the street, market value for their skill set is maybe 60. So I'm probably not interested. I mean, honestly. So I think you've got problems on the supply side and the demand side, because on the supply side, you've got people thinking that you need college degrees to get in this industry. Yet lots of people that are coming out with college degrees, I would have zero interest in hiring, because you've got unrealistic expectations. You've got no practical skills. You've got a lot of the, what do you call that?
Book knowledge.
Yeah, the book knowledge, which is good, but at the end of the day, we can't serve customers with book knowledge. There's no value unless you can apply that book knowledge. And you paid $50,000 for this education. You need to pay that money back somehow. I mean, it's just economics don't work. And then you've got on the demand side, you've got how many job
Booney's
interviews
going off on this chat here. He's
Yeah,
crazy.
how many job postings are actual job postings for what people actually need?
Oh, I'm probably not all of them.
So I think there's incompetence really on
Well,
both
so there's
sides.
something interesting too that I've experienced now that I'm a hiring manager. I always thought it was BS when you hear people say, I want you to come in and hit the ground running. It's like, well, why the hell can't you train me? But like, I want to train people, but you also need to keep the momentum of your program going. So you
What's always worked
need
for me is I always
certain
hire for the
things.
intangibles. It's the shit I can't teach you. I can't teach you to be honest, personal integrity, show up on time, dependability. I can't teach you those things. I can teach you all the security stuff. But if that's the market that you're looking for, that's a different, meaning that's the product I'm looking for. That's a product that doesn't cost as much. That's a product that's willing to learn, that's motivated to learn, that, you know what I mean? They bring this fire to your team. So you're going to have to, if that's what you're looking for, you want to teach them, you're going to have to give up a little of the productivity up front, I think, to realize the returns on the, in the medium to long term. It's always worked for us. If I have specific skill sets that I need to hire for, well, then we need to marry those skill sets up with still the intangibles, because the intangibles are non-negotiable. So you might be a 20-year information security pen test, genius, but if you're a dickhead, I'm not interested. If you can mentor other members of the team, play as part of the team, don't be some maverick, don't be egotistical, and you can lead pretty sophisticated projects, like, sweet. But it all comes down to what you're looking for, man, specifically, right? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, but that's why I'm thinking, like, I should do this interview project and go on some of these interviews. Like, what the fuck? What? What are you talking about? Or, yeah, just challenge a little bit more. Like when they ask, have you ever used Wireshark? I'm like, yes. Why? Do I need Wireshark for this position? Well, yeah. Well, explain to me how I would need it for this position, because it didn't look like that on the job description. Well, you know Wireshark. Yeah, I do, but you don't. That's the problem, I think, maybe.
That'd be pretty funny to watch.
Yeah. I would record them. It depends on the state they're applying for, because I think some states you have to notify both parties, but some states it's only one side.
Mm.
I think Minnesota is one of those states where it's only one side. So I could record the conversation of them knowing. Yes, packet sniffing. That is correct. And if you want to get into pen testing, just word of advice, and guy who's broken more shit than I've fixed, pen test yourself. Hack the shit out of your house. You're not going to get in trouble for that. You'll learn a whole bunch. And you'll protect yourself better in the meantime. And then go try those hack the box things and whatever else you want to do. But I would start with hacking myself, because I'm motivated to secure my shit. Matt, do you know how many devices you have on your network right now? This is a segue.
It usually is between 5 and 7. Let me check. It's probably sitting at 5 right now.
Yeah. Because here's some more logic for you. Much easier to protect the shit you have. I have 34 systems on this network right now.
There's 5. Boom.
34.
Nailed it.
But they're all legit. Anyway. All right. So that
it should
was another
be
thing.
6, but my watch doesn't always show as active. But
your Apple Watch?
Yeah. Yep.
Which Apple Watch do you have?
The Ultra 2.
Ultra 2. Have you been seeing some of the things that are coming out with the Ultra 3?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I should check that out.
We could do. We won't be out till like August or September, but
they just came out. Oh, they didn't remake the 2. They just changed the fucking color of it. That's what happened.
Yeah.
That's the one you bought, right?
The Ultra 2?
You got the black Ultra, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, the one I got was the silver one. So
what color?
Silver. Or fucking whatever it is.
Looks pretty on your wrist, Matt.
Yeah, thanks.
Mine.
Yeah, the black looks way fucking
Mexico
cooler.
tattoo. And America. Eagles.
America. You ever make them fight when you're bored? Gah, gah.
Straight. And I'm right-handed, so that's why the American Eagle is on the right hand. I'll lead with my left. Probably won't knock you out, but man, when the American Eagle comes, it's game over.
Whew.
Assuming I connect with anything, because now I'm fat, old, and slow.
Crazy.
What was I thinking? Oh, okay. So number 6, the number 6 thing, why people might seem stupid, is groupthink, herd mentality. Do you have anything else to add to that on the groupthink?
Nope, we're good.
Herd mentality. Individuality. Do you embrace individuality? We should embrace individuality.
Probably not, because I'm confused by the question. If I'm being honest.
Embracing individuality, meaning be yourself.
Be myself. I actually feel like I am slowly morphing back into who I used to be.
Who did you used to be, Matt?
Not just blunt. Swore a lot, didn't care.
So, Jake, you swear a lot and don't care? I swear a lot.
Yeah, but then I got in the corporate world, and you start to like filter and think about stuff a lot, and then we went through this whole COVID thing, and I just like spiraled in this whole thing.
There's a lot of window dressing in the corporate world. That's one of the things I could never understand about wearing suits. I felt like I was dressing up like a
show pony.
Yeah, like a costume.
The suit doesn't bother me because the Marine Corps, you had the uniforms and it was always dressed to impress. And
that costume matters. There's a pride component to that.
That's true. It's in that closet right there, actually.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't fit, but
I used to work for a U.S. bank, and it was the only company I ever worked for that was depressed. I had to wear a damn suit every day, and it was all herd mentality. Nobody wanted to fix anything, and then nobody wanted to empower to fix anything either. All right, so Jake says, I see lots of folks in my line of work who don't take physical or tech security serious enough. Yeah.
Yep.
Concur.
I did so I had that exact same thing. And one of the first thing I did was go start a relationship with my physical security counterpart because everyone in IT hated working with them. They just, like, no, it's risk is risk. Like, we're together. So,
Yeah, the more, like I said, man, the more perspectives you can get,
Mhm.
the better. Most training goes through the HR department, so become really good friends with the HR people, buy them things. Because people are always going to, you won't be able to fix people with technology, right? And people are always like, not only are they kind of oftentimes the front line of defense on the preventative, but they're also the most likely to report something if they feel comfortable reporting it. Traditionally, people have reported unusual activities, behaviors, things like that before any of our systems picked it up.
Right.
We don't, I mean, shit, man, we run systems that are tight, but there's some things that just, your systems won't pick up. Having people that are situationally aware and trained well, it's huge.
Right.
Right, so number 7, reason why people might seem stupid, cognitive overload, which is kind
What
of
is
like
that? Is
information
that the
overload.
same as, that's what I was going to say. Is that the
Sort
same
of, but
thing?
it's a strain of mental effort. It's more like laziness or
Huh.
lazy.
For sure. I'm lazy sometimes.
You're lazy sometimes. Get your shit together.
Do I have to, though? Or
Yeah,
am
you
I?
get paid for this. You're supposed to be a professional, an expert.
I'm not getting paid for this. Where's my check?
No, not this. Not the fucking
Oh.
podcast. No, you can be lazy
In
here.
life?
I'm
Oh,
talking
we're
lazy
talking about
like
work?
work. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you can
Yeah,
be lazy
I'm
as you
pretty good
want
there.
here. I'll just keep rambling. You know me.
I'm pretty solid, I think. I try to solve problems.
All right. So cognitive overload is usually caused by information overload. So it's
Okay.
yeah.
So it's like instead of continuing to think about the information, your brain just like shuts down.
Or it's just I don't want to spend the time to process it. I'm just fuck it. I don't care. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do.
Burnout?
I think burnout comes along those same lines. Yeah. So then you end up making decisions that might really seem stupid because you just, I don't, whatever. And there are people that are, I mean, we've seen them. There are, just lazy people too, so you may not be stupid, but your laziness certainly makes you seem stupid.
No one's kicked you in the chest yet.
Yeah.
I'll
My
volunteer.
dad had a rule. I don't know if I shared this one with you, but my dad had a lot of rules, which was, Marine, what'd you expect? But he had a rule that if I have to tell you to do something, it's too late, which was like
impossible to comprehend.
No, it required you to really pay the fuck attention. It really required you to pay attention, like what's important to my father. He's the boss of this house. My job is to make sure that he's pleased with my performance, I suppose. So what things are most important to him? Pay attention.
Cleanliness.
Get in line with that, right? Yeah, cleanliness for sure. Like if you walk past that's one of the things, here I'm all over my youngest daughter about is if you walk past dog piss on the floor, clean it up. What the hell? And so it was a lot of that. Like if something needed to be done and it needed to be done, then if I have to tell you to do it, it's too late. The things that it taught you initiative. It taught me to look for the right things to do as opposed to be told the right things to do. It taught me not to be lazy for fear that there might be repercussions for my laziness. Now, as you get older, it changes a little bit. You can hire people to do shit now, but it certainly helped me to get through a lot of this stuff. AI girlfriends.
You missed it. We talked about that last week.
Yeah, I don't need AI girlfriends. I got a wife. And Matt, you need to work on real girlfriends.
You got the good life.
Well, you think this came easy?
Oh, of course not.
Yeah.
I didn't say you had the good life. I said you had a real life.
Oh, real life.
Did I?
I said I have a good life. Well, I do have a good life.
Maybe
the good life. The good life takes work, doesn't it?
Said.
Would the good life actually be the good life if it was just handed to you? Would you value it?
Probably not.
As much?
No.
Because you have this sense of accomplishment, right?
That you did it.
Yeah. All right. So number 7, things that might make people seem stupid is laziness, mental laziness, whatever you want to call it. You make stupid decisions because you didn't think shit through and you didn't think shit through because, well, that required me to think, and I didn't fucking feel like thinking. Why didn't you feel like thinking? Well, maybe it's over information overload. There's just too much damn things to think about. Maybe you oversimplify problems, right? When you look at the problem, and if you notice, like every single one of these, they all play off each other.
Yep.
Because perspectives,
it's
it also,
circular.
it is circular. It's one human, like, brain. One
It's
stupid.
like growing.
And the eighth one I had for why people seem stupid, maybe to me, is systemic problems. Just how society is different today. There's a couple of ways this works. Like the societal structures either amplify the stupidity or the bad decisions, poor decisions, or they justify it. I think most bad decisions, not all, but most bad decisions are kind of obvious it was a bad decision. You know what I mean? And so when you see people celebrate bad decisions, it's like, that's stupid. It seems stupid anyway. And I'm going to probably cause a hidden emotional, but go back to the emotion things about the poor, about looking stupid. When that CEO of
What was that?
gunfire, whatever, cartel fighting,
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Mexico, it's scary down there.
No,
That's what people tell me when I go down there, is that it's not safe.
It's super scary. But take like the killing of that CEO from UHG, right? People said that was there's a certain group of people. Well, there's some people who said that was a good decision. He deserved it. He had it coming to him. The fact of the matter is, you killed somebody. I mean, there's other ways to handle that. I agree that UHG is an evil fucking company. I agree that UHG fucks over a lot of people. So does Microsoft. So does Google. So does, name
your company.
Show me a Fortune 100 company that doesn't fuck people over. But there's a right way to handle it. You know what I mean? So, the societal structure around some of that stuff. And I get it, man. I mean, there are times I've wanted to string somebody up, but, you take this piece and then you take, the emotional decision versus the logical decision. When you think this stuff through, right, you come to the conclusion that, no, it would be stupid for me to do that. Maybe it's better for me just to let that go. Maybe it's better for me to, think of a more constructive way to approach this. Who knows? Anyway, those are the 8 things that I had.
We didn't do trivia. Are we going to do trivia?
Was I going to do trivia? Oh, yeah, fuck, we didn't do trivia either. Well, we're an hour and 52 minutes into this one. Maybe you and I will do a pre-planning next time. We'll actually get our shit together.
Step up our game.
Step up our game. Let's do it. So we'll step up our game. Things that I owe listeners, watchers, is we owe a game, right? We're going to come up with a cool game. But, Matt, I'm only going to play the game if I get to win. That's cool.
Okay, here's one. What's the name of the first computer virus?
Cribbage. I always beat you in cribbage.
I like playing cribbage, but somehow you cheat.
I don't cheat.
I know. What's the name of the first computer virus? 1986. Targeted MS-DOS.
Oracle.
The AI says it's the brain virus. I don't know if that's true or not.
No, it might be. A lot of people would have said the Morris worm, but that wasn't the first virus. That was the first worm.
Morris worm was 1988, distributed via the internet.
Yeah. That was the first one that kind of gained widespread, I guess, notoriety because, it did spread.
Who broke into a bunch of systems?
The virus that you just said, that wouldn't have been the first virus because they were writing viruses.
Well,
viruses existed for fucking ever.
This said it targeted MS-DOS explicitly, so...
I'm sure there were viruses that were going after Fortran and,
Yeah, but this was
third-generation languages. What's that?
This was explicitly MS-DOS related, so maybe.
I cleaned a lot of boot sector viruses in my day.
Which hacking group in the 80s broke into AT&T and other major networks? They were infamous.
Hacking group in what year?
1980s.
Cult of the Dead Cow.
That would be another option, but this was Legion of Doom. I never heard of them. I had to look them up now.
Cult of the Dead Cow, Loft Crackers.
I have that book. That was a good book.
Which one?
Call to the Dead Cow. I bought their book. Yeah, learned quite a bit actually. And what was interesting about reading that book is they talk about identity.
Yes. Yeah. One of
Identity.
Google, one of the videos I watch often is Mudge. So Mudge was part of Loft, L0 PhD,
Hello, yeah, with
and
the leak
his Senate testimony.
Back in '95 or whatever it was. Yep.
Yeah. It's a fantastic watch. And if you watch that, you'll realize how we haven't made any fucking progress. We've actually made things worse.
Some people say that we made progress on the vulnerability front. Like, there was no disclosure or CVEs or anything at that point. But to your point, I don't think we're making progress because we're just breaking so much shit and we're not coding better. We're not fixing it. And there's so many vulnerabilities.
No accountability.
Yeah, I think it made it worse. Actually,
for sure.
Now it's known. Before it wasn't.
Right. Well, complexity is the worst enemy of security, right? And the same goes true with code, right? The best development shops I know of average 5 errors per 1,000 lines of code. And most of the consumer shit that hits people's consumers anywhere between 7 to 10 errors per 1,000 lines of code. When you look at the number of lines of code that you're running on your computer right now, it's
millions.
This computer probably not actually actively running, but in terms of installed, and let's say probably 150 million lines of code. So if you do the math, 150 million lines of code, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Like
5.
Apple and all the shit, 5 errors per 1,000 lines. You do the math, you know how many, and those aren't all security vulnerabilities. Some of them are functional bugs, like shit just doesn't work the way it's supposed to work, and we just continue to fucking suck up more and more and more code, right? I didn't have code running on my fucking wrist, back then. I didn't have code running on this back then, along with 68.
Yeah.
I mean, how many apps do I have running on my phone right now? How many lines of code are running there? My truck that I drive, that Ford Tremor from last year, 250 million lines of code just in that damn truck. My TVs, how many lines of code are running on that?
Everywhere. The Matrix was a real thing when Neo's seeing all this code everywhere.
Right.
It's real.
And the fact, and when they say vulnerability management, 99+% of all the vulnerabilities are not known.
Nothing.
They haven't even been discovered yet. Some of them might be, the attackers might know. Actually quite a say 99% we don't know about. The attackers maybe know 1% more than that, so maybe it's 98%. But there's still tons of vulnerabilities buried in the code that we haven't gotten to. That you'll never get to them.
Some of them
you just
they might
stacking more shit on more shit.
Some of them, these developers, they got their backlogs and stuff that so they might fix some of them, but they're still out there because it's old stuff.
Did you read what? I didn't watch the Joe Rogan show, but Zuckerberg was on there.
Was he? Oh my God, I gotta check that out.
And he said in the next, I don't know what, I'm paraphrasing, I don't have the facts, but in the next 12 months, most of Meta's mid-level engineers will be replaced by AI.
I mean, I'm sure that would be his goal. He's trying to be most profitable. He doesn't care, he wouldn't care if it's more secure at all. He just wants to get rid of people so he can be more profitable.
Right. Well, the crazy shit is errors propagate, in code. And this over-reliance on AI, like AI is somehow going to write bugless code for you. No, you just have another layer of abstraction because somebody had to write the AI. Somebody had to write the front end, the UI. Somebody had to write the algorithms. Somebody had to write a lot. There's a shitload of code that goes into the AI engine itself. And do you think that's all code-free? I mean, not code-free, bug-free?
No, of course.
And so what are you going to have AI write its own AI? Well, it's bugs writing bugs. I mean, I don't know. It goes back to this, just stacking
Spider
more
web
bullshit on top of
thing.
more bullshit.
Mhm.
Anyway, the thing, closing remarks, man. Next week we've got what are we talking about next week? Next week we talk about certified
CISO.
chaos, the role of VCISOs. So invite all your MSP friends to come and learn what they're doing right, what they're not doing right. Like I know everything, sort of do, but whatever. It's a whole nother
You have
thing
a wealth of experience.
on that front, probably. Yeah. Closing remarks.
By
Yeah.
being more self-aware and open-minded, we can seek more truth and better navigate our relationships, decision-making, and personal growth.
Did you have ChatGPT right there for you?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, ChatGPT. And thank you for using Matt as a proxy. Yeah, I get you, man. I think for me, the learning process in this is, yeah, people seem stupid. They do. I mean, just going to be honest. But there's a reason why they seem stupid. And the reason why they seem stupid might not be because they are actually stupid. There's lots of things, and when I rush to judgment, when I rush to conclusions, I actually end up being the stupid one. You know what I mean? So taking the time to think things through, why do they seem stupid to me? And trying to figure it out a little bit, I think it makes me a better person. It makes me a better information security leader. It makes me a better father, a better husband. And I get a lot less frustrated now when I'm driving in traffic because, well, maybe this person's struggling with some kind of confirmation bias. And maybe that's why they drive like shit. I don't know. But it helps me provide some answers, maybe.
It's really like at the core principle, I think. Give people the benefit of the doubt.
Some people I met, I don't want to give them any benefits. Like attackers. Fuck, I ain't giving you no benefits.
Yeah,
Microsoft ain't giving you no benefits either. I mean, other than the ones I'm extorted into giving you.
Have no choice, yeah.
Right. All right, man. Well, good episode. Next week, we'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, give us some comments too. If you
Tell your friends.
Yeah, and give us some comments. If there's something you want us to cover, or if there's something that you disagree with, man, bring your perspective to the table. Feel free to use the chat next time. Yeah, get in touch. That's it, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, see ya. There it is.